Hey everybody, this is Eric with Chaotic Goods. Today we are taking a look at the very first deck tech video for the channel, where I will be showing you a spicy WiXoss deck that is using the full color restrictions that have been lifted thanks to the Dissonance Diva set that came out on April 19th of this year. So I'm going to show you something that I've been cooking along with a couple other decks in future videos that I've been cooking up, and it utilizes all 5 colors within the deck and takes advantage of a class bonus that we saw several sets back but was held back by the color restrictions that were put in place. Now we'll dive in here and I'll show you kind of what's going on, and I'll talk over combos and things like that and what you can expect from the deck itself. So first, we will start with our Elric deck. We will put this over here. Now, the Elric deck is not 3 colors. It is 2 colors. So we're utilizing 2 of the same color Elric and then a different color, which is fine because we want to do that based on kind of the way the deck plays. So first off is Mito, level 0. Probably something nobody expected because she's kind of mediocre with her effects. A lot of the other Niji Sanji centers that came out in the most recent Niji Sanji set were just better than Mito overall. But we have the Mito line, so Mito level 0. We have our center Mito level 1, center Mito level 2, and then our center Mito level 3. Now her effect is enter, invite 2 collab livers, so you just get those 2 collab liver tokens, and then action, you collaborate with a collab liver, so you spend that collab liver token and put target black Signi from your trash onto your field. So it's just a free trash recursion, you can do it twice, it's really good. And then her once per game is Mito's live broadcasting. It doesn't cost anything, and it's each player puts the top 10 cards of their deck into their trash. Then you shuffle 3 target cards with different names from your trash into your deck. So that's really cool because it allows you to get a servant, because it doesn't specify not a guard. So you can get a servant and then 2 other Signi back into your deck. So it's really cool because you're going to mill out your opponent for 10, mill yourself for 10, and then just get 3 back, which a lot of the black Signi we run in this don't mind having a lot in the trash. So that is our center. Whoa, threw the card. So that is our center. And then we have Machina. Machina is a staple black assist. Irith has kind of fallen into place of being on almost the same level as Machina, depending on what you're looking to do. And then Deus is arguably the best defensive assist when it comes to the color black. So we're not playing defense with our assist black Signi, black Elric. So we are going with Machina. And then to no one's surprise, Machina Wing Slash, her enter effect, banish target level 1 Signi on your opponent's field, and add target level 1 Signi without a guard from your trash to your hand. So trash recursion, typical black. And then, again, to no one's surprise, we have Machina Smash, which is going to be a staple black support where she is a 1 cost to grow. And then her enter effects, target 1 Signi on your opponent's field gets minus 12,000 power until end of turn, which is really great because this is a main phase or an attack phase. And then you have the enter 1 black cost, add target Signi without guard from trash to your hand. So again, trash recursion, you just have to pay 1 to get it back. Really strong. Now, from what I've noticed, with the lifting of color restrictions, a lot of people have branched away from your typical Deus support or other, such as Madoka. They're now running other ones because you don't need Madoka or Deus to be those full stops for you. So now we are running Mel, and I've seen a lot of other decks look at Mel because Mel was really good, but you were restricted to green, but now you're not. So we're running Mel Ready, Mel Revise, which is the enter, put up to 2 target cards without a guard from your trash into your inner zone. This deck has a lot of cards that utilize a good chunk of your inner, And with our ratios being very tight on our colors, we might need this to put some cards back into our trash to ensure, we might need this to put some cards back into our inner zone to ensure we're able to grow and pay for specific costs. And then easily one of the best assists right now is Mel Invisible. She's a 2 cost, and then enter. The next time you take damage this turn, instead you don't take that damage. Discard 2 cards. The next time you take damage this turn, instead you do not take that damage. And then green and 2 colorless. The next time you take damage this turn, instead you do not take 2 damage. So your typical stop support Elrig, but it's Mel and it's just so good. It's amazing. Okay. And then in typical fashion, because we are running 2 black, we are playing Death Deck, which is a 2 black, 1 colorless. Target Signi on your opponent's field gets minus 12,000 power until end of turn. Then choose up to one of the following for every 10 cards in your trash. So you can do this effect at least twice if you have 20 plus cards in your trash. So 1, add up to 2 target Signi that share a color with your Cento Elrig from your trash to your hand. So you're getting 2 blacks because we're running Mito. And then put the 10 cards, top 10 cards of your opponent's deck into their trash. So based on this alone, with this and Mito, we're milling 20 cards from our opponent, which is half a deck, which is really good. And then a great piece that came with the Dissonance Diva set is Unknown Memory, which is a 0 cost colorless. It is choose one of the following. If you have 2 or more Elrig that share the same color on your field, instead choose up to 2 of the following. So we can vanish target level 2 or less Signi on our opponent's field, draw 2 cards, or intercharge 2. And that's really good because we're not running any sort of draw power within the deck, so we can draw 2 cards, which is really nice because we don't get those from our assists. And then we can intercharge 2 if we really need to, but we have Mel revised to do that. So it is just a draw 2, vanish a target level 2 to just open a lane and swing through and do some damage. Alright, so with the Elrig deck out of the way, we are going to get into the main deck here. So we'll go over all 40 cards. I'm going to do level 1s, 2s, and 3s. Typically I would break it up with life burst versus non-life burst, but it gets a little confusing, so we're just going to do level 1s, 2s, and 3s and go with that. So in standard fashion, we have 4 servants, so that's not going to be any surprise there, as unless you're crazy, like some people at my locals, you're going to be running 4 servants. And then we run 2 Garuru, almost like Garurumon from Digimon, Garuru Pripara Idol. That's right, it's a Pripara deck. So she is a 2,000 power, so a little low, so she's not really going to vanish too much when you play her, but that's okay because we kind of want to play her for her effect, which is action. You tap her, banish target Signi on your opponent's field with power 2,000 less, or you can action tap her to vanish target Signi on your opponent's field with power 3,000 or less. This ability can only be used if there's another Pripara. I can't roll my R's, so probably not the best deck to go over, but if there's another Pripara Signi on your field, so that 3,000 threshold can vanish quite a bit. Sometimes you can do that 2,000, but we're a full Pripara deck, so we're always going to hit that 3,000. So we run 2 of her. And then next, we're going to run Tayo Pepper, Pripara Idol. She's a 3,000 power, and she has a constant as long as there is another Pripara Signi in your inner zone. This Signi gets plus 5,000 power, so she's easily just going to always be 8,000, which is great. So we're running 3 of her because that is just a good power to have in a level 1 Signi because it's a constant. It's not your opponent's turn, it's not your turn, always, which is standard green fashion. All right. And then we have Hojo Sophie, which is a life burst, and she has auto. At the end of your turn, you may reveal a Pripara Signi from your hand. If you do, the Signi gets plus 4,000 power until the end of your opponent's next in phase. So this works really well if you have a Tayo Pepper and Hojo on the field, because then suddenly you have a 7,000 and an 8,000 that some cards your opponent isn't going to be able to deal with, especially in the Dissonance Diva set. You know, if they're running Firecracker or Wall Wolf or Musica, these are totally safe and not going to be able to get through based on their effects. And then her life burst is target Signi on your opponent's field gains constant. This Signi cannot attack until end of turn, and draw a card. So 3 of her. And you might be wondering at this point, where are the black Signi? As I mentioned earlier, this is a very, very tight ratio because there's not a whole lot of Pripara Signi, so we have to kind of put as many in as we can. And there's only 3, there's a level 1, 2, and 3 of each color. So at most, I'm running 12 black. So it's tight ratios, hence intercharge, assist, and things like that. So our other level 1 is Midorikaze Fuwari, and I probably butchered that. And she's a 3,000 power, and when you discard a card, when you discard a Pripara Signi, target Pripara Signi on your field gets plus 2,000 power until the end, which is pretty good for bumping up just, you know, maybe your level 3s or level 2s to vanish the other side. And then her enter effect, draw a card and discard a card. So she self-engines the draw discard effect. So 2 of her. Alright, next up in our level 1s, which is actually going to be our last level 1, is our black. So we run 4 Riona West Pripara Idols. Now her effect is enter, put the top card of your deck into your trash. Then if a Pripara Signi was put into your trash this way, target Signi on your opponent's field gets minus 2,000 power until end of turn. And she's a 2,000 herself. So again, this is only going to vanish a very finite amount of enemy Signi. But if you do the minus 2,000, it can bring some of those walls down for you to be able to swing over and through, which is really nice. So we run 4 of her, mostly because we have to, but her effect is also really good. Now onto our level 2s. We run 2 Shiritama Mikan, and she is a life burst, and her effect is really good. I wish I could have put more of her in, but I think 2 is fine. So auto, twice per turn, so this auto triggers twice. Whenever a Signi on your field attacks, it gets plus 2,000 power until the end of turn. If it is a Pripara Signi, it gets plus 4,000 power instead. And then you may discard a card. If you do, vanish target Signi on your field. You may discard a card. If you do, vanish target Signi on your opponent's field with power 12k or less. So this is really good because again, we're a full Pripara deck. So if we have this on the board, you know, with a couple level 1s, our level 1s are swinging for a much larger number than they normally would be. And especially if we put this on the board with like a level 3, maybe another level 2, our level 3 is suddenly a 16k, and again it's just breaking through those walls, which is really awesome. So she's a 2 of. I might adjust the deck to see if I can fit more of her in, but for now we are going to put her at 2. Alright, next for our level 2 line, we are going to have Minami Mirie. Now she's an enter, colorless. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Reveal a Pripara Signi from among them, add it to your hand, put the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. So this just allows us to filter for what we're really looking for. So level 3, level 2, probably one of those 2 options to really put it in play and get those big effects off. She also is a life burst, which does, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal a Signi from among them, add it to your hand, put it onto your field, put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this allows us to get a guard from our deck that we need right away, could potentially not have to draw into it later, and again, just filtering. So really good filter card. And our last level 2, as we just run 9, is Dorothy West. So we run 4 of her because again she's our black color, so we need the ratios to go into Mito level 2. Her effect is a constant. As long as there are 5 or more Pripara Signi in your trash, this Signy gets plus 4,000 power, so she's easily just going to be a 12k almost all the time, you know, until we refresh. But she has an enter effect, which is put the top 3 cards of your deck into her trash. So, like a lot of black Signy, she's going to mill you to power her own effect. So hopefully, you know, you're able to put this in play, and, you know, turn 2, hopefully you're having a 12k Signy on the field. And then she has the Life Burst, which is typical black. You may discard a card. If you do, target Signy on your opponent's field gets minus 12,000 power until end of turn. So really strong Life Burst to go with our other level 2 Life Bursts. Alright, so now on to the level 3s. We're running 13 level 3s, and our first one is a single Kurosu Aroma. Now, originally, the deck I kind of got the inspiration of wasn't running this, and I wanted to run 2, but it meant having to cut down one of the other level 3s, which I wasn't quite a fan of. So this is just the extra spice. So she's a 1,000, or sorry, she's a 10,000 power, and an auto. At the beginning of your attack phase, you may put a Pripara Signi from your inner zone into your trash. If you do, vanish target Signi on your opponent's field with power 10,000 or less. So it's really good if you get this early and you just need to open a lane. You just put her down, pay the 1, and boom, there you go. Now next is a 4 of Todo Scion. She's our black, so again we're running 4, and she has an action, colorless, and you tap her, and target Signi on your opponent's field gets minus 1,000 for each 1,000 power for each Pripara Signi in your trash until the end of turn. This effect can only be applied with up to 15 cards. So at most, you are getting rid of a 15k Signi or less, which is really easy to do with the other black cards, with milling ourselves with the Mito effect. The play right now is to basically put her out, pay the colorless, tap her, vanish a Signi, and then you can just bring her back the next turn. You can just bring her back the next turn, or that turn if you really wanted to, with the Machina Smash, with the Mito collab effect. There's a lot of ways to get this back, so it's really cool to just be like, okay, minus 15k, there goes your wall, I have a free lane, and then you do the once per turn where you just trash this, and you open a lane to just swing through with another Signy from your hand. So really strong effect. Obviously it's not broken by any means, you know, having to pay a colorless and then tap the Signy to open a lane really kind of sucks, but it's unique to where, you know, we can just keep doing this and bringing it back. So 4 of her, and then almost our last one is the lady herself, Manaka Lala. Now, she has a lot of text here, but basically, she has a constant effect during your opponent's turn. Pripara Signi on your field, other than herself, get plus 2,000 power, which is really good when we pair her with other level 2s, or maybe some of our level 3, or some of our level 2s that, you know, bring themselves up, or our level 3s that are at that 12k threshold. We're now sitting at 14, so our opponent is forced to kill this before they can get rid of the others. Now, her enter effect is a 2 cost, which is kind of steep, but it is reveal the top 5 cards of your deck and put them on the bottom of your deck in a random order. Then choose one of the following. 1. Return target Signi on your opponent's field to its owner's hand if there are 1 or more Pripara Signi among the revealed cards, which there almost always will be, unless for some reason you're super unlucky and you hit like 4 servants, which would be quite terrible. And then the second is put target Signi on your opponent's field into its owner's trash if Minami Mirie and Hojo Sophie are among the revealed cards. So if you reveal the other 2 white Pripara Signi, then you're putting it into the trash instead of bouncing it to hand. So it's really good. And again, this removal, along with our red removal, along with our black removal, is really good because there's not a lot in here that has super steep effects. So we don't have to worry about having too much inner or not enough inner to pay for these effects. So this is really strong to just be like, hey, clear a lane, and then, you know, you play Toto, and then you clear another lane, and you're just swinging it 2 open lanes potentially. So we run 4 of her. And to finish off our life burst and our last level 3s is Manaka Nan. Now we run 4 of her, and her effect is at the end of your turn, intercharge 1. If there are 3 Pripara Signi on your field, instead of intercharge 2. So really good if we are for whatever reason going against maybe an interburn deck, or we are just really starved for resources. We can put her down, you know, hopefully swing, not get anything vanished, and then suddenly we are intercharging 2 at the end of the turn. Not something that would come up probably too often, but if you're desperate enough and you really need the intercharge, you know, you can play her. She's a 12k body, which is really good, and you know, get that intercharge too. Now, her life burst is choose 1, vanish target up Signi on your opponent's field, or intercharge 1. So depending on the situation, you know, you might just be intercharging 1, oh boy, or you know, best case scenario, this is the first life cloth hit, and then you just bounce or you vanish the Signi on your opponent's field. So overall, this is the deck tech for, I'm calling it Pripara Power. Now, it is a little niche and unique. Obviously, the Dissonance Signi and the other tribals such as Angels are a lot stronger than this, but I wanted to build something very niche and unique, and I saw inspiration on this from a very similar list that I did a couple tweaks to, where I was like, hey, I want to build that because that looks fun. And that's the whole point of, you know, playing these TCGs, is having fun. You know, clearly this isn't like an S tier deck. You know, it's using very good Elrig deck staples, maybe outside of Mito, but Mito's effect allows us to get, you know, Toto back. It allows us to get Dorothy back. It allows us to mill 10 from our opponent. You know, we have Death Tech to mill another 10 from our opponent. So they're really good cards in the Pripara archetype, or tribal, whatever you want to call it, and I wanted to build something, and honestly it's a lot of fun. So, you know, if you have all these cards lying around, I would definitely recommend building it, playing it, having a little bit of fun with it, because all of these cards pair really well together, as you can see, based on their effects, similar to how the Dissonance Signi work, where they all pair together based on, you know, the Dissona tribal archetype. And this is that same sort of thing. So give it a shot. If you do, let me know in the comments below what you like, what you don't like. You know, and I want to thank you so much for stopping by for the first deck tech for Chaotic Goods. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.